Hey guys, welcome to the first edition of the draft review. This is the first round draft review for the 2030 Virtual Baseball League draft. And what I've done is I've taken a bunch of different scouts of different abilities and different tendencies. I threw them into a hat, and then I reviewed the first round selections based on the scouts that I've selected. Then from there, I'm just going to do some videos that kind of talk about what those scouts are seeing in a general sense without revealing who the scout is or anything about the ratings. I'm just going to discuss the players using OSA and statistical analysis and just give you something to watch and to review, because I know a lot of times you look at your own guys, but you don't look at the players that are selected by everybody else. So I thought this could be a fun thing to do. So the first video today, what I'm doing here is the top 5 players that were drafted. So this could be viewed as more preview, because these guys probably would have been top 5 anyway, but I thought it would be really cool to see. So it's not in terms of value or anything like that, no positions, nothing like that. And it's also worth remembering that the game and the scouts they use, they don't know what you can do with participation rewards. So keep that in mind, that this is very game specific and just something to have fun with. So without further ado, I'm going to go into the top 5 players that have been drafted, overall consensus of the scouts. And we actually have a top 6 for this because 2 of them were tied. So we're going to go with number 6. The only reason he's number 6 is because of the alphabet. Huey Pardot, the poet. That's a great name for somebody with the last name Pardot. By the way, I just noticed that. Huey was drafted number 1, actually, by St. Paul. So obviously, scouts across the league think that that was a pretty solid pick. I'm going to tell you right now, I see nothing wrong with this pick. Huey has played 3 years at San Diego State. As you can see here, very consistent. Nothing really to give you any worry. I mean, his on base dropped year after year, but not too worried about that. Looks like he's got power. He doesn't have great stolen base ability. Let's check his fielding. Rough freshman year at shortstop, but he showed significant improvement throughout his career in college. We're going to check his ratings. At 20 years old, and always from Aruba, I forgot to mention that, but 20 years old, he looks pretty ready. I mean, if you're St. Paul, you might wait a year, but you probably don't want to wait too long and waste his ability. One thing I'll note, obviously, personality is a bit of a problem. I'm going to imagine that work ethic is going to be taken care of through rewards. Really interesting that he has very good speed, but has no idea how to use it. His defensive ratings are pretty interesting. If I am drafting Huey, I am, for starters, working on the error and the arm, but I am giving him time at second base in the minor leagues. I want him to learn it because he might not end up being the best shortstop, but he might end up being a quality second baseman. And if you're going to work on the error, maybe through the rewards, the ability to play shortstop is always going to be there. So you might as well create a dual threat with the poet. So overall, scouts agree, solid pick. He went number 1 for a reason. And as you can see, I wanted to show this. He has been the best hitter at his position in college 3 times. So, he's pretty well established as a significant college player. So, great pick, great kind of style of player for St. Paul to build around. Next up, again, remember that this was a tie. So we're going Going with the guy who was actually drafted right after him. There's Jorge Espinoza, who is a 20-year-old out of Pepperdine. He's Cuban. I have no idea why it says he's committed to Southern Illinois, but that could just be a weird 24 thing because it also says he's draft eligible at next year, but he's not because he was just drafted. So looking at his ratings, the thing that you see definitely much different than the Poet is he has a long way to go. So same age, but this guy's going to have to wait. He's got his gap. He can hit the gaps like any big leaguer, but he's really far away everywhere else. Looking at his career batting stats, again, no problems here. You're seeing everything lines up really well to those ratings, so you have no cause for thinking that the scouts are off base. No pun intended. His fielding, a lot of these guys, by the way, I should point out, I'm looking at this deeply for the first time because I didn't want to skew my thoughts. He's not a terrible fielder. He's probably been playing the wrong position. Let's see. He's kind of similar to Pardo in the sense that I think you need to improve the error in the arm a little bit if he's going to play third base or shortstop. He could be a pretty solid second baseman. So again, you improve those areas. By default, this is going to get better. So the more time that he has playing there, the better. Personality is not a problem. He's got a high financial ambition, but who doesn't these days? So again, solid pick. No problems there. And he better be at pick number 2, right? All right. Next up is Henning Peters from Curacao. He is a high school player out of Valley Central. And he just finished his sophomore year, it looks like. Let's check those stats. By the way, he was drafted by Omaha, and he was drafted with the 6th overall pick. Batting stats look pretty legit. No problems here. Does not like to steal bases, apparently. Fielding stats. He's fine as an outfielder, right? Looks like he's listed as right fielder. He spent a little bit of time in left field. His ratings, he's probably somebody who's like a year or 2 away. You probably want to work on that eye and make sure that he can get that up closer to the potential. Overall, though, everything else I think is probably VBL ready, although he's got room to grow. Like we said before, his speed, it's just not part of his game. He too has the financial ambition. From a fielding perspective, he's definitely a left fielder first and foremost. So right out of the gate, that's where he's got to play. But again, you improve the range and the error, he becomes a really good right fielder. He's only 17, though, so there's a lot of time to adjust that fielding. I don't think you're going to have to adjust much with the bat. So if you're just focusing on the glove, it's not totally out of the question that he could become a center fielder because range and error could skyrocket. But I would just get those situated to the point where he becomes a quality corner outfielder. And then if there's time to teach him center field in the minors, great. But if not, scouts pretty much agree that this guy has a great career ahead of him. One thing that I didn't do and I should have done because I was trying to focus on the scouts is checking the injury. So he's got a clear injury record, so no problems there. Now that I'm thinking of it, let's just go back and check these guys. Espinoza, clear injury. The Poet. That would worry me. You got 3 injuries in 2030. One pretty serious one, an ankle. That would be something to watch, I think. that would be something to be concerned with, especially since he was the first pick overall. You hope that this doesn't become an issue for him, but if he doesn't make it, I think this section is going to be the only thing that holds him back. All right. Next up, so number 2 on the list. Let's see. Number 2 on the list, I don't know why it doesn't have a picture. That's kind of a bummer, but it is Gonzalo Ramirez. And Gonzalo Ramirez was actually drafted 31st by the Cooperstown Camels. He too is Cuban. He went to James Madison High School. Looks like he committed as well. It's really interesting. We'll have to look into how that happens. But looking at his ratings, for a 17-year-old to have his gap and his home run power where they are already, that's good stuff right there. The I and the K's, they've got a little ways to go. Really, you're going to hope that the contact obviously comes with it. So I don't think he has to rush to the big leagues, but this kid could be a VBL player by the time he turns, he's July. Yeah, by the time he turns like 19, 20. Great personality. Again, no speed seems to be a trend. Defense is pretty poor. Obviously, we're a DH league, so that's no problem. But, you pump this up a little bit and maybe you get yourself a quality fielding first baseman, and then you don't have to worry about the bat. Let's just see his career stats are off the charts. 127 home runs in high school. You gotta love it. His glove, he didn't do badly considering the ratings. Obviously, it's high school fielding, so it's a little bit different, but you could put him at first base and not feel terrible about it. But again, you've got time, you've got points to spend. If you can, you bump up the range and the error a little bit, and just make it, see if you can get that first base rating into the 40s, 50s, and he could be a star. And then injury history, mild calf strain, only 2 days. Nothing that's really going to give me any pause from drafting him. Overall, though, first base is obviously a tricky position in this league. It always has been. Tricky in the sense that pretty much they're a dime a dozen. But when you get a chance to get a superstar quality bat like this, I think you probably go for it. He's got the personality. All signs point to the fact that this kid could grow into a really significant star for the Camels. So great pick there, and the scouts agree. And then number 1, in terms of just best overall talent, is actually another first baseman. And he was drafted 32nd overall, right behind the Camels by the Union. So Carlos Lopez is from Venezuela. He went to high school at Riverdale Baptist. He looks durable. Looking at his ratings compared to Ramirez, he looks a little further away, but, he also could be a significant player within 3 years probably. The stats, he improved every year too. He's just ridiculous with the bat. So you have no concerns there. His glove needs work, but what first baseman doesn't? Same idea. You improve that a little bit, you're going to be in really good shape. And yeah, I think overall, personality class is unknown to OSA, but I'm going to assume that the Union did their due diligence there. Nothing on the injury history, so overall, no problems there. So, another great pick by the Union. And again, first baseman, but he could be a superstar. That I and that K get to the 90s with that power and that contact. That's ridiculous. 100, 100, 92, 90. I think I missed 100, but 3 100s, a 92, and a 90. You're not going to get much better than that with a bat. So, worst case scenario, get yourself a really dangerous DH, could turn him into a first baseman, hope that personality comes through, but all scouts agreed that he was a can't miss prospect. And so that concludes the top 5, which was really the top 6. So congrats to those who drafted in the top 5. And we'll be back with another video reviewing the bottom 5 and also the best value and the worst value. Thanks for watching, guys.